Apache, so when I installed Apache, it created a directory in Etsy, /Etsy Apache 2. And inside of that, it created, let's go look if I can show you that. So, Etsy Apache 2. So by default, it created this directory structure for me when I installed Apache. Now, there's a couple things to be aware of. let me talk about each of these for a second before we go in and change stuff. The Apache 2 configuration file. This controls our main configuration for the Apache web server. If I were to go look at it, it's a bunch of gobbledygook, and we won't really have to, it's a lot of comments. All those hashtags are comments. We can specify a bunch of timers. How long should I keep the TCP socket open before closing it if I haven't received a request, some stuff like that. Anyway, and then I can, a lot of different options. But at the very, very end, it says, go and include our sites enabled. So our sites enabled folder has the configuration for our virtual hosts, which I will show you. But just we're not going to poke around, I don't think at all, with the configuration file. Mods available and mods enabled. Sites enabled, sites available. Okay. The difference between the enabled directory and the available directory is whenever there's something in sites enabled or mods enabled, it's just a symlink that's going back to the corresponding other directory. So if I do ls-l on sites enabled, you can see those are all symlinks that will be created for you. You don't have to create the symlinks manually. If I look at mods enabled, those are all symlinks going back to something in the mods available. So, for example, later on in the class, we will configure a PHP extension for our web servers. We would make that mod available, and then to enable it, we would do the correct command. It would create a symlink there. Same thing with conf enabled, conf available. Okay, that was exciting. The real focus that we need to look at is over in our sites available. So I'll just go back to my screenshots here for a second. So whenever we're adding a virtual host, add it in sites available. Do not add it in sites enabled. Do it in sites available. Okay. So I typed the name of my configuration file. The name of my configuration file will always end in conf. And the name of my website is going to be squishy.thegumbybear.com. You can choose whatever you want to name your website, right? You have control over your domain now. So whatever you want to call it. The file was blank. I had to add in this configuration. So this is the very, very minimal, basic virtual host definition that we would create. We put in the word virtual host. These are case sensitive, capital V, capital H. Then we put in the IP address of our web machine, :80. Document root, it says, where should I go look for files when someone asks me for pages that correspond to squishy.thegumbybear.com. So I put in a path. I'm going to have them go look at /var, www, html, and squishy.thegumbybear.com. That's, once again, that's a directory that I'm going to create. I haven't created yet. And the server name, this is the other directive that we have to have, which matches, so if they type in squishy.thegumbybear.com at the browser, that's the name that we'll have to look through and match in our virtual host definition before we serve out content. It'll make more sense after we do it. I think on the assignment I'm having you create 6 websites. So you have 6 different virtual host files, and you don't understand that. Okay, so that's all I add, those 4 lines. And then we have to enable the website. Now I do sudo a2nsite. That's an Apache command that will, pretty much all it does is it creates that symbolic link. So it creates a symbolic link in sites enabled because I can have a site that's available but haven't enabled yet. So it creates the symbolic link for me. That's pretty much it. And then after we do sudo a2 incite, it yells at us, it says, hey, to really activate this, you have to reload Apache. So you do service Apache to reload. Awesome. Okay, I'm not going to go test it yet because I'm still missing some components. I need to go actually create my document root. So I'm going to do that. So I did an mkdir var www html squishy.gummybear.com, and then I'll go put some content in there, like an index page. And there's my index page. I don't really care what HTML you stick in there because it's not a web class. So stick something in there. At that point, my web server is up and running. Everything should be done on the web server, but I don't have a corresponding DNS entry so that someone can actually get to my web server. So let's talk about CNAMEs. I jumped over to my DNS server. And on my DNS server, I'm going to edit my zone file, db.thegummybear.com. I'm going to come down here to CNAME. All right, so, well, we come down to the bottom of my file. I'm going to add some CNAME records. So this is pretty critical, and students, yeah?
In HTML, don't you want to add the tags to tell Google's bots to not crawl at the website?
That's
because if you have like a unbuilt website, they'll ding you about it.
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay.
Because I don't care if anyone gets to my website. I'm just doing it to show you how to do it.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, certainly there's tons of other things we want to do. This is a legit site. So we should have 8 entries in there by now, or 7, however many that is. NS1, NS2, www, file system, DB resources, right? Now, I called my machine www. You might have called Dangerous Web, you might have named it Gandalf, you might have named it Scooby-Doo, I don't care. But the critical part down here is a CNAME. CNAME stands for canonical name. But I don't know why, that doesn't make any sense to me. It just really means alias. So whenever someone requests a record for Squishy, we're going to give them back the address of whatever I've defined as www right there. So 199 at 165. Same thing here. Whenever someone requests I8 at, we're going to give them back the address for www right there. So if you named your web server up here, you named it Scooby-Doo, then I can say Squishy is an alias for Scooby-Doo. Now, here's something I see almost every semester. What happens if I put www here and www there? You break bind. You can't have an alias that's the same name as an A record because bind doesn't know what to do. So make sure you can only have these names defined a single time. You can never have any duplicates there. Yes?
When would you want to use A versus a C? Is it just so that you don't have to type up the ID, basically?
Yeah. So for this particular purpose, I could have just relisted an A record, Squishy, in A, and put the exact same IP address as www. There's nothing that says I can't have multiple A records that point to the same IP address. That is totally doable.
Is it just so that if you change one, you don't change all of them?
Yeah, it's just so if like this one, I'm moving to a new server, it has a new IP address. All I have to do is change one line, and then all my CNAMEs will automatically go to the right space. Questions on CNAMEs? Not yet. And then, of course, I need to increment my serial number, restart bind. I'll probably do a dig test. In fact, when I make an addition to bind, I very rarely do a dig test. I like to do a ping test. I'll just say ping squishy.thegummybear.com. How does that help me? First thing it does is a DNS lookup. And if I can get a ping response back, oh, DNS worked, awesome.
With our serial number, since we're having 2 records in there, does it need to be incremented twice?
No, I could put like 50 lines in here at once, and then increment my serial number, and it would take all the changes over. So just anytime you leave the file and want to make your changes persist, or pass them to your slave, you need to increment the serial number, regardless of how many lines you've added.
So all the serial number increment thing does is whenever it changes, it just sends it.
Yeah, it says, hey, I have a higher number now, you've incremented by one, bind key